much for having me up here.
All right, now let's go to Linda Pence, who is with John McEnroe's coach, Tony Palafox.
Thank you, Ted. Tony, you've seen so much of John over the years. How do you feel he's playing tonight?
He's playing much better tonight than what he was in the first round. He's playing about 80% better than last Tuesday.
And you first saw him play when he was just 12 years old. Did you think then that he would become the great player that he became?
So we saw that he could be a good player, but we didn't know how good and how soon. Now we can see that what he's doing right now.
Now, what brought you back together again? There was such a long hiatus between being his childhood coach when he was in his teen years and coming back together now.
Well, he called me back because after Wimbledon, he asked me if I would like to work with him again. So I said, let's try it again to see what we can do. So far, he's doing better.
And what have you done with him? What specifically have you worked on with him?
Mostly the stroke production that we have done lately, because that's where he was missing how to stroke the ball. Otherwise, you know, that's the most important part of the game.
Really, you felt that John maybe was losing some of the feel because he seems such a natural on the strokes.
He lost the feeling of some shots, but he's getting back now the shots now. I can see now in this match he's getting the back what he had in 1984, 85, some of those shots.
How about from the fitness point of view? Obviously, he's up against it a little bit playing so many younger guys these days. Do you feel that he's in a better shape than he was early in the year?
I think he's in better shape now than what he was 4 or 5 weeks ago, because he's been working with a trainer, which that's where he's helping him a lot. And that's why he can see now he moves better at the net, that's where he was lacking.
Well, thank you, Tony, for your input. Back to you, Ted.
McEnroe now getting to 30 all in this game. He's down a break in the second set.
That was a miss hit. You could hear it from up here. Chesnokov takes such a big swing on the forehand, Vitas. You're going to miss hit more balls with a bigger swing, don't you think?
But he is pretty solid. I mean, he doesn't miss too many balls like that. I mean, I've watched him hit a heck of a lot of ground strokes, and he doesn't miss too many of them. You know, he powers the ball, and he has that ability, as I mentioned before, to change his game with the flow of the match. That's what makes him so tough to play.
That was just the third unforced error by Chesnokov.
This is a good shot at Tatum O'Neal, rooting on her husband. He's got to be pretty happy with the result so far.
A little touch of the old McEnroe.
I think this is what Tony Palafox was talking about. McEnroe moves in quick now and really cuts that ball off out in front. Good angle.
At that time, the preparation was so much better. He just read it so much faster, so much earlier. I don't mind seeing John trying that play. You know, keep applying the pressure to Chesnokov. He's up a set. You know, let Chesnokov start to worry and start changing his game a little bit. He doesn't want to see McEnroe at the net every time. I guarantee you that's a very unpleasant sight for a ground stroker.
Sports is about making your opponent change their game. And McEnroe does that to Chesnokov. That's a point in his favor.
That's right. That's a great shot.
And it gives McEnroe a break point.
There's Chesnokov really trying to get to that ball, and you can see it's a double bounce. Chesnokov on the run. Gets the racket back nice and early. Really winds over with that shoulder of his. And just cross court winner.
And McEnroe had 1 break point. That was all. Chesnokov at 3 low. Well, we're back at Stadium Court at the U.S. Open. Look who we stumbled into.
Well, if you like rock and roll, this is USA Network's version of Motley Crue.
Venus, I thought you said Jimmy was hanging around town somewhere. I didn't know he was right here.
I didn't know he was right behind you, but he came to wish you happy birthday.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday, Barry.
Thanks,
You know
Jimmy.
what? We better turn these lights out or Mr. McEnroe is going to be upset here.
I got to tell you
Telling me.
one thing, Jimmy. It's a lot more fun when you're down there than up here.
I'm going to agree with that.
You talk about flash photography. McEnroe's been yelled about the flashes. I could just see him looking up here and say, tell those clowns to get out of there.
15 down.
Jimmy, what are your early impressions?
I think Max started off playing the match just the way he really wanted to. He kept getting to the net as quick as possible. He's doing everything that he wanted to do at the beginning, but it seemed the first couple games of the second set, he reverted back to playing a little bit more baseline, which is more in Chesnokov's favor.
Jimmy, I remember you had a long talk with John McEnroe after we take a look at Chesnokov's forehand. There he takes a good drive at it, sets himself up for it again. And Barry, even though he takes a pretty big swing on it, he prepares nice and early and drives right through it. Jimmy, you had a long conversation with John after his loss to Rostano at Wimbledon. Do you see a difference in the way he's hitting the ball?
I think, first of all, he had to go out and regroup after that match. He had to get his mind straight and get down to work on his tennis. I think this is the best he has played in a number of months. He must have gone out and did some soul searching and some advertising of his own thoughts and his own game to get to this point. If he keeps working at it, keeps improving at this rate, I see no reason why he can't get back to the top.
Well, if anybody can give you advice on getting back to the top, I guess it is Jimbo.
Chesnokov just hitting some winners.
Just to catch up on that point, Vitas, I can give him all the advice that I have to offer, but unless he takes it, not so much mine, but anybody's advice to the point where he wants to go out and work at it, then it doesn't do any good.
Jimmy, you returned the McEnroe serve for so many years. What is tough about John's serve when you're trying to return that baby?
First of all, his stance is very unorthodox. He turns a little bit, or not a little bit, but a whole lot sideways to the point where it's difficult to read his toss and just where he's going to fling his body into it at the last minute. It's not so much the speed that's devastating, but the way he throws the ball around. It's a knuckleball, a slice, a fast one at you. He's the Nolan Ryan of tennis.
That's the point I brought up about Chesnokov before. This kid doesn't always look like he's that fast or that he volleys that good, but he gets the job done.
Well, he used all the racket that time. That ball came right off the top of the frame. I guess the Russians pay for it now, so they want to use it all. Coach looking pretty happy about that shot.
What's the word for good in
Tatiana looked like
Russian?
she was hyperventilating a little bit there after that shot. An amazing get by Chesnokov.
And a second serve coming on break point. Chesnokov breaks to lead 4-love. Jimmy, you mentioned the soul searching McEnroe has done. Do you think it will involve harder work for John than